Good morning. It's been a minute since I posted a video. Life has been lifing lately, so busy things in our household and some wonderful things, some blessings. We've been focused on our oldest son. He turned 16 yesterday, so we've been doing all the things to celebrate him and make him feel loved and special. And if you've watched some of the other videos and heard a little bit about his story and his journey, um, you'll know that that's a blessing that we got to 16 and he is healthy and happy and thriving. And yeah, so we've just had a lot going on. We had some deaths in the family this year that I've spoke about between my husband's family and my family. And so we've just kind of been processing some grief and just trying to get into some new routines and just kind of be present with our family. So with that being said, I did want to make a video today. And if you hear my washing machine in the background, I'm so sorry about that. But this is the time I have for a quick little break from work to be able to post a video because I do want to get through the blog posts because what I would like to do is moving forward, once I get through all of the old blog posts, is just to, come up with a topic regarding postpartum depression or just postpartum life in general, and just go from there and just kind of talk, organically about some of those things. If you watch this video and you have something that you would like for me to speak on or cover or talk about, I would be happy to do that. So please leave a comment if there's something that you would like for me to mention or make a video about. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd like to hear your thoughts even if you don't have a topic. I have also said in previous videos, I am not a YouTuber. I have no idea really about this platform as far as, how to make things look aesthetically pleasing, and the lighting I know is terrible in my office, and, sound quality and all of that stuff. And, maybe I'll learn and get better at it if I continue with this. And, if this channel grows any, we'll see. So, for right now, it just kind of is what it is. And I hope if you're watching that you get something out of this, whether you're a mom or caring for someone that is going through postpartum depression or struggling with the baby blues. And we'll talk about that in another video, kind of what the difference is between, being diagnosed with postpartum depression and just the baby blues, which is, complicated in itself, and it's a real thing also. And maybe I'll talk about that in a video, kind of the differences in that and what those are, and, signs to look for. So this video is called Only Aunt Nan. Aunt Nan is what my nieces and nephews have always called me. It started with my first love, my nephew Mikey. He couldn't say Aunt Leanne, and so it came out as Aunt Nan. It stuck with the ones to follow. I love being an aunt, but there was a time when I thought I would never be called Mom. I had a miscarriage that was painful emotionally and physically. That's when I just knew I was going to be Aunt Nan forever and not Mom. Still to this day, I love hearing one of them say Aunt Nan. But I so badly wanted to be a mother. That's why postpartum depression is so strange for people. Even those of us who have it because we've longed for this day. Let me read that sentence again. That is why postpartum depression is so strange for people. Even those of us who have it because we've longed for this day. The day we give birth. The day we become a mother. The day we lay eyes on this tiny little child. then why do we struggle with bonding and loving our child when we've wanted this for so long? I had this picture perfect moment of holding my son for the first time. I just knew it would be magical. But I guess that it wasn't for me. That is the moment I started to feel inadequate. If I wanted this so badly, what was wrong with me? How dare I feel this way? Well, moms, giving birth is not picture perfect, and that's okay. We all have our own journey to adjusting to motherhood. What I want to encourage you to do is to speak up. Talk to your doctor, your spouse, a best friend, someone, anyone. When we start having these conversations, it will help the next mother reach out, and that circle will continue to grow. Prayerfully, postpartum depression will not come with feelings of shame, but power and strength, peace and love. I don't reread these blog posts that I wrote back in 2019 when I started a blog, really, again, not knowing what I was doing. When I decide to, make a video, I don't read it ahead of time, So reading these with you and to you and for you kind of brings me back to those feelings and those emotions. And I have said so many times in the few videos that I've made that I did feel inadequate. I did. And that video reminded me of why I felt so inadequate was because I had prayed for it for so long and struggling with the miscarriages and, having some, female surgeries that I can talk about in another video also that, really just was making the thought of being a mom unattainable for me. And so when I got pregnant and I was, admitted to the hospital, for the induction and, I was excited, I was nervous, but I was so thankful. I'm like, okay, we're here. Like we did it, I got what I wanted. And when that immediate feeling that you read about and you hear other moms talk about and you watch movies about and, just even other content creators, that share their, pregnancy and then their birth experience and how, perfect their makeup is and their hair and just, doing the skin to skin and they're just, oh, so in love and everything is just roses and, sunshine and butterflies. I wanted that. And I just was so caught off guard that that was not what was going on for me. And that feeling of inadequacy was because how dare I feel these emotions when this is what I begged God for? I prayed for it. I prayed, for so long to be a mom. And I just really had, the guilt and the shame that came with that. And I just want to say that, I have certain content creators, YouTubers that, I like to watch, family videos, moms doing their things, their routines, their, how they organize this and what cleaning products they like for that. I'm kind of obsessed with those types of videos. But, when I had my first son in 2009, I wasn't really on YouTube, even if YouTube was a big thing back then. I don't know. I'm getting too old to be honest with you. I don't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, but um, I think it's harder. I think it would be harder now to be struggling with any mental health, really, um, crises, because you're watching. Um, I hear other people say, you're getting the highlight reel of somebody's day and somebody's experience on what they post on the internet. They're not showing you most are not showing you the behind the scenes, of the messy and the bad. And so I think if you're having any type of mental health, you know, issues, whether it's postpartum depression or depression in general or anxiety, um, and you're watching, YouTube videos where everything seems like it's perfect, I think it can really be hurting you because you're seeing the best of what they want you to see and none of the bad. An example of that is there is a content creator that I watch. She lives in Napa Valley and she posts, her videos of homemaking and, recipes and things like that. Again, I like watching that type of content. She was one of the ones that kind of, made me really think about that because when she was filming her video of organizing and cleaning her kitchen and meal prepping for the week and that kind of stuff, everything looked, you know, just perfectly done. And then she said, you know, when you're watching my videos, I want you to know that this is how this area looks and this is what I've got together right now. And then she pans the video to her living and dining room area and it's a chaotic mess. And it really made me stop to think like, oh yeah, that's true. Just because she sat there and worked for an hour in her kitchen and meal prepped and cleaned everything, that doesn't mean her whole house looks like that. And I need to put the pressure on myself to, make sure everything is perfectly together in my home because what she was saying is, listen, I'm showing you this and I did this today, but here's what's waiting. Here's what I got to tackle tomorrow. And I think for us that struggle with mental health issues is that's the same thing. I could watch, you know, um, a video about, a mom giving birth and how she's come home and everything is, there's a nice pot of soup on the stove that's, going and she's, her hair is done and her makeup's done and she's in these comfy, nice PJs and, just, everything is just looking wonderful. And I'm not saying that they're giving you false information, but there's bad times too. Every new mom goes through that. Excuse me. You're tired. Your body has gone through a major ordeal giving birth, whether it's C-section or a vaginal delivery. Your body has gone through a stressor, and you're tired and your body's healing. I don't care if you're in perfect shape, your body still has gone through, a traumatic experience. So I'm not saying that they don't have it more together than us moms that struggle with postpartum depression. I'm just saying that be mindful of the content that you're absorbing if you are going through any type of mental health period, because what you're taking in may not be feeding your soul with what you need. So just be mindful of that. But yeah, I did want to share that, and it's interesting to read that back. Aunt Nan giving that you know, having that title was something that I was proud of. I'm still proud to be Aunt Nan. Funny story, I have a nephew who's, you know, in his 20s now, and I was recently in Texas with him. He's um, my nephew that lost his father, my brother-in-law, and he had got a new truck, and um, he had cranked it up, and his contacts, you know, came up in the phone, and I saw where it said Aunt Leanne, and I said, "Now, I know you think you're grown, but that's not my name to you." And he said, "Oh, Aunt Nan, I'm sorry, I'll change that." And so he went in his phone, changed his contact. Like, no, I was Aunt Nan the day you were born, and I'm going to be Aunt Nan, you know, until I don't care how old you get. So, and that was just funny. But I was proud to be Aunt Nan. You know, I love them, and I pray over them and for them, and um, but my heart wanted to be a mom. You know, I wanted that, and you know, my husband, you know, when we were dating, he said, you know, there's not much I'm sure of in my life. I don't know what God has in store for me, but I know that I've prayed, and I truly believe that God wants me to be a father, and I want to be a dad. And so when I was going through, you know, the miscarriage and, you know, some other health issues, I really not only felt like I was kind of letting myself down, but I didn't want to let him down because he wanted it just as bad as I did. And so I had kind of added that pressure, you know, on myself because I didn't want him to view me as inadequate and not capable of giving him what he desired for his life was to be a dad just as much as I desired to be a mom. And, you know, you just have to kind of lean on your faith and know that you're going to get through the storms. I hated when people would tell me that. I think that's another video too, where the words we hate to hear. I hated hearing that. I did. I hated people telling me it's going to get better. You know, you're going to get through this. You know, it'll be okay. And I'm thinking, but is it? You know, I mean, when you're when you're in those dark moments, you don't want to hear that. I'm solution oriented. Okay, how is it going to get better? What do I do to get better? You know, how are you going to help me? If you're telling me it's going to get better, how are you going to help me get there? You know, uh, but I hated being told that it's going to be okay. Okay, you know, it's kind of like when someone's grieving, um, which we've just had a lot of lately, you know, and someone that's lost, you know, someone that they love, and you're like, you know, it's going to be okay. And is that true? Is it eventually going to be okay? Yeah, it's going to be different. Life is going to look different. Um, but you'll find joy again. And, um, but it just kind of seems like it just, I don't know, those words just made me angry. I just didn't want to hear that. I wasn't, I wasn't receiving that or much of anything to be honest with you, during that time. But, um, the sunshine comes, the butterflies come, the birds sing, um, and it's not a you wake up and you're instantly better on this journey. It's just a little at a time. And then you look back and you're like, okay, man, today was a little better than yesterday. And you have to just really have grace, compassion, and kindness with yourself. You really do. Because nobody understands what you're going through in that moment. Even me going through it. My experience and your experience with postpartum depression may be completely different. You may not struggle the same way I did. I've talked about multiple times that even taking a shower and getting myself cleaned up was the hardest struggle of the day for me. I did not have the mental capacity to do that. You may not struggle with that. Yours may be um, eating, wanting to take time to eat something to nourish your body. It could be anything. So my journey is not going to be your journey. But what is common, what we have in common is it's easy to beat ourselves up about not feeling those magical moments that you see in videos and movies and you know social media and all of that. We do have that in common because we want those things. Our heart wants those things. Um, and so we're susceptible to beating ourselves up more because of things that we're feeding our mind. And our mind feeds our soul, and our soul feeds our body. And, so you just have to be aware of that. And I just want to remind you that even in the toughest days, when you're exhausted physically, emotionally, spiritually, even through the darkest of days, the sun peeks out sometimes. And grab those moments, whether it's, a laugh you have about something silly, that somebody did, or, um, you got to eat your favorite meal and you just for a second you're like, oh, that's comforting. That feels good. Mine was Chick-fil-A, by the way. I wanted it every day. I wanted it after I gave birth to both kids. Postpartum, that's all I wanted was Chick-fil-A. I don't know why, but anyway, I was obsessed with Chick-fil-A. Um, so even if it's just something, your favorite chocolate, you know, I've talked about, get a new face cream, that smells delicious. The older I get, the more I'm kind of starting to get into, skincare where I should have probably been in my 20s, but now that I'm in my 50s, I'm, trying to pay more attention to that. So even just a new body spray or a new lotion or just something that just feeds your senses that, gives you a little bit of joy. And so through the dark clouds, a little bit of sunshine will peek through in those moments. And then you will look back, not instantly, but you'll look back and you're like, oh man, this is where I was, but here I am today. Still have some work to do. Still have a road to travel, but I'm so much better today than I was yesterday. And so I want to speak that truth to you. Find, even if it's just a little something, even if it's just 10 minutes of fresh air and soaking up a little bit of sunshine or smelling the rain, just something to feed your soul. And those little bits and pieces in those moments, you'll build upon that. And I promise the sunshine will come. I do promise. Um, as always, I want to remind you that if you are struggling or you know someone that is struggling with postpartum depression or in any mental health issue, please reach out to a healthcare provider, seek help. I'm just a mom. I am a nurse, but I'm not here giving medical advice. I'm just here to be a support and share my journey and my strength and my hope and my encouragement for you. And hopefully you can be that to someone, and I can be that for you. So I hope you have a great day. It is sunny here in North Florida. Um, Go Gators. We won a national championship. So my boys were excited about that. My husband is a UF alum, so he was super stoked. It was a fun night celebrating my son. It was his birthday yesterday, as I mentioned, and he had a group of friends over, and they were watching movies um, and then the game, and so it was just a good day all around. So, peace and love to you. Enjoy your day, and I will talk to you real soon. Thank you.